All right. Hello and welcome to a very special Tuesday, December 5th edition of the Second String. I don't know why I said that.
Yeah, I don't know why you say any of this like that. I mean, you need a new intro, Nate.
I do need a new intro. That's because all this talk about all these coaching changes got me frazzled, and I couldn't think of a great name for my wonderful co-host, Alex Fernando. I'm Nate Muehlbach, and welcome to the Second String. This is our radio show about college football and all things college football tangentially related.
Oh my gosh, best show in the world, Nate. Best source on the campus of UNL for your college football, and you know you want to be tuning in every Tuesday night.
Oh, I hope so. I sure hope so indeed. We got a great week. There were some great games. There were some great coaching hires. There were some strange coaching hires.
Very strange coaching hires. And you know what? We got a little playoff speculation to do now. We got the full playoff in front of us. All the bowls set up. Postseason college football, Nate.
It's my favorite type of college football, that's for sure.
Second to rivalry week for me, but still loving it.
It's a good thing. I like bowl season because you just get to see games you don't normally get to see.
Oh, for sure. We got some really good matchups, too. I'm excited for this bowl season.
We'll talk about the bowls a little bit more next week in sort of our end-of-the-year wrap-up show. But now, let's just get into the conference championships. Let's start. I posted them in sort of least interesting to most interesting. So let's get started because we only have a limited amount of time. Let's start with the Pac-12. Played on Friday.
You thought this one was least interesting?
It was a good game. Don't get me wrong, but it didn't matter.
Didn't matter. You didn't think a two-loss USC just a couple weeks ago you were talking up the two-loss Trojans.
No, I think they should have a shot as any, but it didn't matter. As the weeks gone on, I knew they weren't going to be even remotely having a shot.
You knew kind of where the committee was leaning.
Yes, and it's frustrating because I do think USC is pretty good. And it's one of those things where we need an 8-team playoff.
I don't know.
But anyway.
It's pretty prestigious to get into this 4-team playoff, though. I mean, you got to really hit the right marks, apparently.
You got to get really lucky, apparently.
Get lucky? What are you talking about? You don't think, I mean, we'll get to the playoff speculation. All right, let's go with your game here. Stanford taking on USC in the Pac-12 championship. Nate, fun fact for you, this is the first time the South has won the Pac-12 championship.
I mean,
since it was created.
6 years, was it?
7 seasons now, yeah.
7 seasons, first time. I mean, good for them. It's really nice that USC finally got it going. Sam Darnold played really well. I've been a big Sam Darnold believer the entire season, even when he's been throwing interceptions. But it's good to see him going. Bryce Love was amazing as always. 22 carries, 125 yards, a touchdown. Like I said,
he has the most 125-yard plus games in all of college football.
Like I said, he's really impressive. Loved it. It was a fun game to watch. Didn't get to see most of it because I was too busy working the district Husker volleyball.
Ladies moving on. Let's go.
Yeah, so I didn't get to see much of it, but I saw the highlights. I caught the game, and it was just a very impressive win. But unfortunately, I didn't think it mattered that much, so that's why it's my least important.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, you kind of knew which way the committee was leaning. At the very least, your only argument was Ohio State and Bama. That's kind of what everybody came down to. But USC was sitting at the exact same spot as Ohio State. That's the one thing that baffled me is when they were doing the whole playoff selection. I watched on Sunday morning. I watched the selections show. Watched them go through the whole process of talking about all the teams, and the entire focus was Ohio State versus Alabama. Who gets in? And if you look at USC and Ohio State, their resumes are the same. 2-loss conference champion. 1 tough loss to a conference team, or 1 tough loss to a good team on the road. USC was a conference team against Washington State. I guess Ohio State was at home with Oklahoma. But
yeah.
Okay, a tough loss to a good team, and then a really bad loss to Notre Dame for USC and to Iowa for Ohio State.
They were very similar teams, and it kind of chafed me that they weren't really both getting the respect that I thought it deserved. But like I said,
do you think this goes back to that Pac-12 After Dark?
Maybe a little bit.
Nobody watches the Pac-12. They're always having those late-night games. I mean, we stay up and watch them. I think they're some of the best games around.
Yes.
I love watching the Pac-12 After Dark.
It could be. I'm not ruling out the possibility, but I think it's just the voters wrote off USC early in the season, and that stuff sticks with you when you get embarrassed by Notre Dame in Week 8. then everybody says, "Yep, USC's not very good. We'll shutter them."
Yeah, if the media takes you out, it's kind of looking like you're probably going to be out.
And the playoff committee too. They kind of shuttered the door on USC, and even at the end when they had a good a chance as any to get back into it, the playoff committee was just like, we'll see. But still, it was a fun game.
Yeah,
it
solid
was a
game.
great
I mean, Stanford had USC had the lead. Stanford kind of came back. It was kind of back and forth. I was at a friend's birthday party, but we were watching on the TVs in the restaurant, and then I caught the highlights later on. And I mean, hey, I'm just excited. Stanford finally set in KJ Costello and left him in there. 192 yards, 2 passing touchdowns, a little bit under 50%, but I mean, still, he's clearly the better quarterback. Get that guy rolling, especially when you have Bryce Love in the backfield. They're starting to get their offense rolling. I think they're going to have a good postseason with the bowl game coming up.
I think they will too. Now let's move on to the next least interesting, the ACC.
Next least interesting.
I mean,
this one was pretty.
Whatever.
Yeah, I mean, this one was done before it even got started. It seemed like Miami putting up 3 points against the Clemson Titles.
They're gonna have another one. Maybe next year
you could really start calling the Clemson Titles. I mean, 3 straight ACC championships.
Yes, they look really good, and Miami unfortunately really did it. Malik Rozier, I thought, played really badly. It was
you thought he was under 50%, 110 yards and 2 interceptions. Sorry, 2 interceptions.
Yes, okay. You scratch the thought. He played badly, and the entire Miami team played badly. Defense, special teams, etc., etc. It was Clemson's game from the beginning. Their rushing game looked stout. Their quarterbacking was stout. Their defense was incredibly stout. And a sad end to my dark horse candidate, but I feel good that I picked them this well.
That's fair. I mean, they played a very good season. The big thing with Miami, they were so close to slipping up multiple times this season. And finally at the end, Pitt caught them. Clemson kind of really took them to the workshop. But Pitt caught them really off guard. I think, like you said last week, that game didn't really matter, so Miami might have been slacking. But they've come so close to losing and dropping a few this season already. Late comeback against a semi-okay Florida State team. Late finish against North Carolina, very bad North Carolina. Late finish against Georgia Tech, decent team. But again, if you're going to be Miami, if you're going to get to these ACC championships, and if you want to compete and get into the playoffs like they wanted to do, then you can't be edging out every single conference game against mediocre opponents.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. It's a very, very unsustainable trajectory for Miami. It bit them at the end of the year. It really did. But still, they played well. Clemson is going to be in the playoffs. Like I said, not an interesting game, but good to know if you're a Miami fan.
One stat that does interest me quick, though, Clemson only had 77 total yards rushing. 41 carries. I mean, Etienne had 24 as a high. Feaster had 22. Adam Choice had 21. Bryant only had 7. So, I mean, Miami's defense was at least keeping them contained on the run game at least, which they did against Notre Dame too. So I think they're going to have an interesting matchup. I'm pretty sure they're matched up against Wisconsin for the Bulls.
Yes.
Solid run defense, solid run offense. I don't know. They had 4 sacks and 10 tackles for loss against Clemson. Again, not a bad team. Clemson was by far the better team in this, and I think they're probably the best team in the playoff right now. But, I mean, Miami's just not quite at that level yet. It's going to be a couple more years.
It'll take a while if you're a Miami fan, but the team will get there. I'm very confident, and it's not a bad season if you're Miami.
Oh, not at all.
For Clemson, you're moving on to the playoffs. It's what you wanted to do all year, and it's right in stock for you. Let's move on to the next game. This is probably the best game of the weekend, per se, of all the conference championships, but it's the one that mattered the least.
Yeah,
but,
again, doesn't matter.
UCF 62, Memphis 55.
Oh, man. Phenomenal game. I watched the whole thing start to finish. Every time they put Scott Frost on the screen, I'm just like, Scott Frost, cheering. My roommate was getting a little annoyed at me, but it was great. So much fun to watch this game. Now, you hear the score, 62-55, double overtime. Sounds like there's absolutely no defense.
Zero defense.
There was a lot of defense, though. Surprisingly, like, you get into these games, and it doesn't look like it, but both teams played phenomenal defense at certain points of the game. Yeah, you can't hold down these offenses for very long. These are the two top offenses in the entire nation. They're going to get their points. Great quarterback play, great running backs, just talented receivers on the edge, but their defense still played well. Memphis, 1 sack and 6 tackles for loss. They had a couple takeaways, two interceptions in the red zone on Mackenzie Milton. And then for UCF, 4 sacks, 8 tackles for loss. They had some takeaways of their own, a couple picks, or a pick and a fumble recovery. Like, come on.
They played good. This was a game that was a treat to watch. Mackenzie Milton, he is phenomenal.
Can he come with Scott Frost?
I wish.
Could he please just come? I'll wait a season. I don't care.
Seems like we're going to get a few different dual threat quarterbacks.
Yeah, Scott's already offering them,
but he was great.
Him. Yeah.
And Riley Ferguson still also phenomenal for Memphis.
Yeah.
A lot of people forgot about him, after his 500-yard, 6-touchdown game against UCLA earlier in the season. But in this game, he also was incredibly good. Just two great quarterbacks going at it. Rushing attack. The Memphis rushing attack is amazing. They had 2 guys over 100 yards rushing, then a third guy at 71. It was just incredible. It was just an incredible game, and it's tough to hold back offenses of this caliber for long, especially in the AAC.
Like I said, there were a couple good series of defense, but you can't stop all of this.
No.
Memphis and UCF were just too dynamic of offenses to hold down. And just jumping back a little bit, speaking of Riley Ferguson, senior, he's 6'4", 210. He's good size. 68 career touchdowns to 19 interceptions, a big arm. I don't know. You think he's maybe moving on to the league a little bit?
Big physical quarterback from Memphis getting drafted.
Why not?
Do you know who I'm referring to? Am I talking about Ferguson or am I talking about Paxton Lynch?
Oh, okay.
It's fine. He'll get
true.
the shot. He'll get the shot.
I don't know.
I think he deserves it.
Ferguson's a lot more of a pro-style quarterback than Paxton Lynch was.
Yes.
Lynch was much more dual threat.
He was. And
but, I don't know. I think if I was an NFL scout,
he's worth taking a look at outside of the top guys, outside of Rosen or Darnold. I think he's worth taking a look at as any of the other guys that are out there.
Phenomenal season for him. 36 touchdowns, 9 picks, just under 4,000 yards. So, moving on to a good bowl game. Again, though, the sad part is this game doesn't matter.
No.
UCF, best offense in the nation, 12-0, conference champion. They don't even get a look at for the playoffs.
No, and that's, again, 8 teams. We need you. But
8 teams, and maybe they could get an at-large bid, but that's it.
Yeah, it's frustrating if you're a G5. It's part of the reason that you scratch your head about college football. Love a lot of things about the sport, but with the G5, the P5 G5 split is just one of those things you shake your head at and you go, how is this fair or sustainable in any way?
Money, Nate.
Money. The answer is money, but as a person who likes parity, as somebody who has largely fallen off watching the NBA this season because of that fact, it's just I like basketball. The NBA has been so uninteresting this year.
There's
for me.
3 teams. You saw the video I tagged you in the other night. Suns defense. They literally just stood there. They knew they were going to lose. They didn't try at all.
Like I said, and you'd call me foolish for expecting parity out of CFB. It's a notoriously parity-free sports league, but you can't stop hoping as a neutral fan in some of these games. Just give them a shot. So let's move on to the next game. How about Georgia-Auburn, 28-7, taking them on the rematch?
Man. Yeah, well, first of all, you never want to play a team twice. That's what I was afraid of.
I texted you about this.
That's what I was afraid walking into this game. I had to stick with Auburn because I made the claim that they were going to be the first 2-loss team. And after that first drive, it looked like it. They drove 75 yards, 10 plays, straight down the field, scored a touchdown on the opening drive. I'm like, oh, this is looking good. Gus Malzahn, Jarrett Stidham, they got him clicking. And then Georgia, fantastic defensive performance.
Yeah, they just smothered him. I thought Jake Fromm played the best game of his career or season so far. It was just an excellent effort on Georgia's part for all phases of the game. They made Jarrett Stidham look uncomfortable.
Yeah, he went 50%.
outside of that gutsy game last week, Stidham, he just did not look good. Kerryon Johnson played. You could tell he was banged up the entire game, and that's frustrating if you're an Auburn fan, because you look at a player like him and you go, I should have, if he was healthy, how would have this, like, totally healthy, how would this game go? This would have been a different game. But I mean, regardless, Georgia's
good for Georgia.
Yeah, good for Georgia. It's
solid performance.
It's always nice to see a new team in the playoffs.
Yes, definitely nice to see a new team. And
I'm kind of rooting for them just because of the fact they've never been in the playoffs before, and it gives me somebody new to root for.
That, and honestly, I mean, they're probably the least known team for these plays. I mean, everybody wrote them off after Auburn beat them. I mean, majority wrote them off. I mean, they thought either Auburn was going to roll in through the SEC and beat Bama, or Bama's just going to keep rolling and do Bama. And Georgia doesn't have a chance against either of them, especially after Auburn beat them the first time.
No.
They stepped up, played with a chip on their shoulder. They come back, knock down Auburn, going into the playoff. And, I mean, Oklahoma hasn't faced a team like this. None of the other playoff teams have faced a team like Georgia. The way they run their ball, the way Jake Fromm has played, in their defense especially.
Yeah, they bring a special type of football to the playoffs. I want to say special is kind of a weird descriptor to use, because they basically play run the ball, smash mouth, play good defense, but they're just very disciplined on all factors of the game. They're not flashy in any capacity. I mean,
no, not at all.
I mean,
very
Michelle
simple game
and
plan.
Chubb and Swift, they just have a lot of good running threats. Their quarterback, chucks it.
Consistent.
Yeah, he plays consistently, and it's just a very nice team. They're just well-rounded in all the ways you want to be well-rounded. And I don't know if that's going to translate into playoff success. I personally think they're going to get bounced in the first round.
We'll see. I mean, that's the thing. They got to take on our next game. They got to take on the one factor of our next game.
Yes. This is Oklahoma rolling over TCU. This game was so unmemorable, I forgot to put it in here. Otherwise, it would have been like first.
You forgot about Baker Mayfield?
No, I didn't forget
He'll
about.
He'll start yelling at you and calling you names if you say you forgot about him. He'll call you out on social media. He'll do whatever. He'll plant a flag in your front yard.
If
Nate.
Baker Mayfield called out our show on social media, I'd be ecstatic. I would send him a basket of flowers. Thanks, Baker. Yes.
Flowers.
He'd love it. I'm sure he's a softie at heart.
Oh, yeah. He totally looks like it.
How about I'll send him a chocolate and a bottle of wine? Okay. Nice movie.
Sure. That'll be perfect. I bet he's getting on Twitter right now.
Oh, yes.
Oh, my
Oklahoma
gosh.
Was 41-14?
41-17.
41-17. I didn't even pull it up on my computer. I forgot about it so hard.
I don't blame you. It was pretty unmemorable. I was watching this game. This one was right along.
TCU did the old Denver Broncos defensive touchdown on the first.
Yep. I was watching this alongside with the UCF game, and I just stuck to the UCF game because this got so bad. But first drive, Oklahoma goes down, gets a field goal. TCU comes out. First play, fumble the ball. Oklahoma takes it to the house for a touchdown.
Old Denver Broncos school of winning the game.
I'm like, all right, this is a good way to start. And TCU gets down 17-0. But second quarter, they battle back. A great touchdown catch by Diarse in the corner of the end zone right before halftime. It was cool, one-handed catch, falling down. So they keep it close, 24-17 at halftime, and then Oklahoma, Baker Mayfield just takes off.
Baker Mayfield, he's
does his stuff.
He's the best player in college football. He's the Heisman winner, and it's why I'm.
Are you talking about Heisman?
He's gonna win the Heisman.
Well,
They invited 3 players.
They invited 3 players. One of them already won the Heisman, and nobody has mentioned his name since week 2. The other is Bryce Love, who's in the Pac-12.
The old Stanford running back, pity pick.
Yeah, the incredible Stanford running back, breaking all sorts of records, phenomenal season, doesn't even get a look because, again, Pac-12 after dark. There needs to, why not invite a couple more people that have the numbers and deserve to go to New York? That's my thing with the Heisman. So, okay, yes, Baker Mayfield has this one locked up. Last year, Lamar Jackson, he had it locked up. But 2 years ago, I mean, Derrick Henry should not have won the Heisman.
No.
Christian McCaffrey was the Heisman winner.
Yes.
Derrick Henry broke a phenomenal Herschel Walker SEC record. Fantastic. Christian McCaffrey broke a national record for all teams in college football. All 130 teams, he's the number one guy in all-purpose yards.
You don't have to rant to me about this. The Heisman's been screwy to me ever since Sue didn't win it in
Oh,
09.
yeah. I mean, don't get me started on the Sue one. But so, I mean, like, look at other players around the nation. Last year, Donald Pumphrey from San Diego State, all NCAA rushing leader of all time, doesn't get an invite to New York. This year, Mackenzie Milton, UCF, phenomenal quarterback. He's got very similar stats and yards to Mayfield, and he's got a great offense, 12-0 team. The Heisman's heavily based on wins. I mean, earlier this season, too, we're talking about Saquon Barkley. He still had a really good season, and you don't invite him to New York? So even if he doesn't win, just invite the kid.
The Heisman,
Get Mackenzie Milton up there.
The Heisman Trophy, it's a pony show, and that's what it is. And it's been clear, it's been that for a long time now. Like I said, it's been ever since Sue got fourth, a staggering fourth place in 2009.
What pissed me off most about that, he was behind Colt McCoy, who he demolished the week before.
Exactly.
Come on.
We don't want to get too into it, but the Heisman's a joke. But Baker Mayfield is the best player and deserves to win.
He is.
And Oklahoma is a good team who deserves their playoff spot. Let's move on to the I don't actually want to talk about this game that much.
You do.
It'll bleed into the next discussion a little bit, but this is Wisconsin 21, Ohio State 27. Ohio State beats Wisconsin, misses the playoffs.
Ohio State, Nate. The Ohio State.
Well, what can I say? You're right about Alex Hornibrook. It wasn't that bold of a prediction. You're off by about 30 yards.
I was off by about 100 yards.
Oh, didn't?
But I was pretty close. I said he threw it a lot more than I anticipated, but I said 9 for 19, and he was 19 of 40, so about the same percentage-wise. He had 229 yards. I had like 126 or something like that. But the 2 picks, I was spot on. I called his stat line almost to a T. You can't win a game when you make Alex Hornibrook throw. If you're Wisconsin, it's not going to happen.
It's fine. It's just the death of the teams like Wisconsin. They can't do it. They were going to make the playoffs. I was rooting for them. They couldn't do it though.
See,
I'm just frustrated about this game.
Hey, I want to say though, I called this.
No, you called it.
I called this way back when. The Big Ten was not going to get a team in the playoff. After Penn State lost, Big Ten was not getting a team in.
No, that's fair. You did call it. But I had more faith in Wisconsin than you did, and I know that they only lost by 6, but they looked way worse than Ohio State in every phase.
This was decided well early on. I mean, Wisconsin didn't even score their actual offensive touchdown until the fourth quarter.
It was
their early touchdown was a pick 6 because, again, J.T. Barrett, not the most accurate, 12 of 26 and 2 picks, 2 touchdowns to 11 yards. But, again, not the most accurate quarterback, Nate.
No,
I've been telling you that as well. I don't know. Again, this goes back to my argument from either last week or a couple weeks ago. Would you rather have a not very good Wisconsin team relative to all the other playoff teams? Like, do you think Wisconsin would have had any shot against Clemson?
No.
Okay. No. Exactly. Or if they move up, maybe if they take on Oklahoma.
No, I don't think they have any shot against Oklahoma.
Yeah. The Big Ten has been shut out. We have not scored a single point as a conference in the last 2 playoffs. Ohio State in 2015 when they won the playoff, the original playoff.
Yeah.
They were the last Big Ten team to score a point in the playoffs.
I know that.
So would you have a Wisconsin team that probably wouldn't have gotten very much, if anything, for points?
And
do you really want Ohio State to try to compete with Alabama to get in there?
If Wisconsin would have won, they would have been in the playoffs.
Yes, but would you have wanted that to happen?
Yes. They were 13-0. What are you talking about?
Okay, yes, no, I say they would get in, but would it be a good game?
No,
Michigan,
but that's irrelevant to me.
That's not irrelevant. You want the 4 best teams in the playoff.
No,
okay,
that's not what the criteria has.
Well, this goes to the UCF then. They're 12-0. They're a conference champion. Do they get in the playoff just because they're undefeated?
No, because the G5 it's a social structure that disincentivizes teams based on their money and TV market footprint.
If UCF, as much as I would love to see it, I know that they would get hammered if they played Clemson or if they played Oklahoma.
Sure, but I don't get what you're trying to argue here, that Wisconsin shouldn't have gone even if they had won? Or
No,
is that you wouldn't want Wisconsin in
I
the
wouldn't
playoff?
want Wisconsin to go. For the conference, yeah, it would have been nice. But again, we probably maybe not would have. Maybe they wouldn't have scored again.
I don't like this. Well, the Big Ten, it's better that they didn't go than they would have gone and got embarrassed. It's like, no.
I don't know about
That's a terrible argument.
Why is that a terrible argument?
It's like, that's basically, it's like it's best to never try.
Not what I'm saying. I mean, I'm just saying, look, my point is, we don't want to look that bad. We got a lot of work to do as a conference if we're going to try to compete with that, with the likes of Clemson, Oklahoma, and stuff like that. We have the ability to beat them as a conference. I just don't think Wisconsin was going to be that team.
No, well, they weren't. They were easily the worst team out of every. In my opinion, they were the worst team out of any of the playoff contention teams. But
Okay.
They don't pick the straight 4 best teams. If they did pick the straight 4 best playoff teams, Ohio State would be in the playoffs.
Oh, so okay. Let's go into a little playoff speculation then, Nate. You think Ohio State is the 4th best team over Alabama?
Yes.
Why?
Look at their stats. Look at their conference record. Alabama's best win is against the number 17 LSU. Wisconsin has 3 top 10 wins this year.
Wisconsin? No, Ohio State.
Ohio State.
There you go.
Wisconsin, they beat Penn State, both of whom are still in the top 10.
Yep.
They beat Michigan State when they were in the top 10. They're about 19.
Top 15 or something like that. Yeah.
They were a top 15 win. They played Oklahoma, which was a playoff team. They lost to another
They lost
playoff
to them
team.
like 15. By like 15.
Okay. Alabama lost to a team by
Auburn.
15.
Okay. Did Alabama lose to a unranked conference opponent by 31 on the road?
No, they didn't. And that's the reason that they're in the playoffs and Ohio State isn't. But that's irrelevant to whether they're a better team or not, I feel. If we're just going by straight up what team is more talented, what team do you think? The advanced metrics say Ohio State. Ohio State has one of the top 10 hardest schedules in the entire nation. Alabama's strength of schedule, 51st. Wisconsin has a tougher schedule than Alabama.
I know what you're saying. But the committee made a statement this weekend by putting in Alabama over Ohio State. And
The statement is that losses matter.
losses matter more than conference championships.
They matter more than wins.
Key wins, they matter more over strength of schedule. Losses matter. That's the statement that I saw.
Yeah.
And that's
How about this? How
honestly-
about this question I'm posing to you, Alex?
all right. What you got?
This is my hot take because I've seen nobody talk about this, but I've been mulling it over ever since the entire weekend. Is it, if your team, would you rather go 11-1 and miss the conference championship? Is it better to go 11-1 and miss the conference championship, or go 11-1 and make it?
Or you mean 2 loss and make it?
No, not 2 loss. Would you rather go 11-1 and miss, or just make the conference championship in general? I suppose.
That's a tough one because
I think it's better to go 11-1 and miss the championship.
the last 2 years, why not? The the committee has clearly said that, okay, last year, 2-loss Penn State conference champ. Good job winning the Big Ten. You beat Ohio State head-to-head on the road. You have 2 losses. Ohio State's in. This year, Ohio State, good job. You had some top 10 wins. You had a stronger schedule. Conference champ. You battled back.
And it's so bizarre because Ohio
Bama.
State they basically went with the same exact tactic last year. That's what the committee justified.
The only
to get
thing is
them
that
in
they didn't have the
playoffs.
head-to-head this year.
Yes.
That's what bothered me the most last year is Penn State on the road beat Ohio State and was the better team.
Yes. But that's what confuses me about the committee is that they used the same justifications for the Ohio State team last year, and they had the same exact qualifications this year. They were like, Ohio State beat a bunch of top 10 teams. Ohio State played a really strong record. Ohio State,
Conference champion.
No, not conference champion. That was the other one when they didn't.
Oh, last year.
Last year.
Yeah.
And then this year, that's the argument for Ohio State. They say we have 3 top 10 wins. We played one of the hardest schedules in the country. We have a conference championship now, and they're like, no, losses matter way more than any of that. But it's like, that's not what you said last year. Last year, you used the same justification, the same qualifications that Ohio State has, but then now you're just like, you got one more loss.
Last year, they would have put in Penn State with those qualifications then.
The committee rankles me. Rankles me, Alex.
Rankles?
Yes.
See, that's
18 playoffs. How about this? Clemson, UCF, USC, Oklahoma, Georgia, Wisconsin, Ohio State, Alabama.
You forgot Auburn.
No, they're out.
They're out?
They're out. They're 10-3. They're out. So,
see, that's the thing, though. If you're going with an 18 playoff, and I was talking about this with my uncle, and are you requiring a group of 5? Like, do you have an automatic bid for a group of, like, the highest group of 5 rank?
Yes, because they're going to find a way to leave them out.
Okay.
Which sucks because there shouldn't be.
Okay, yeah, but so if you have a required, like, that's going to be tough then. If you have a required spot for a group of 5, that's 6 taken, then you only have 2 at large. If you're deciding between 2 at large right now, and you have Ohio State, Wisconsin, Auburn, USC, Penn State, all sitting right there, Washington even.
Well, no. USC's in because they won the Pac-12.
Okay, so you'd have the conference champions, yeah. But how do you determine between those who lost the conference championship?
Wisconsin because they're 12-1, and Alabama because they're 11-1.
So losses matter again.
Losses matter. Losses would still matter. I'm just frustrated.
I think you're going to have a very similar problem just on a bigger scale if you bring in this 18 playoff. I know, like, normally I'm with you on this 18 playoff, but the more I think about it, you just leave yourself susceptible to more teams being butthurt about not being let in.
Oh, boo-hoo, you're the 9th best team in the league. That's way worse than the 5th. That's way more room for error. There's way more room to say, no, sorry, go home. Maybe you shouldn't have lost 3 games.
But what if they only lost 1 and they get left out? What if there's a ton of 1-loss teams at the end of the year? We have Wisconsin, 1 loss. Bama, 1 loss. Georgia, 1 loss. Oklahoma, 1 loss. Clemson, 1 loss. UCF is 0 losses. Then you get in between all the 2 losses teams. How do you determine between Ohio State, Penn State, Miami, Washington, USC, like, I don't know.
I can't believe you're going to split with me on this issue. I cannot believe it.
I'm just saying, like, it clearly, okay, we can both agree losses matter most to the committee now.
Yes.
I think that's what they're trying to say with these last 2 years. Conference championship, strength of schedule, it's nice, win the games.
Yes, win the games.
I'm just saying, do you think Ohio State should be in the playoffs, right?
I do.
So why do you disagree so much with the committee going off losses versus the resume?
Because I think it disqualifies an entire section of how they play the games. If Alabama can schedule Mercer in Week 13 and roll them over, if they can play crap for scheduling, I mean, I know Florida State was supposed to be some marquee victory, and it wasn't this year.
Yeah, and I mean, that's the other thing too. I was listening to this story on the radio the other day, and has the SEC fallen off apart from 3 teams in Georgia, Auburn, and Bama?
A little bit. They were very good this year. They're probably the 3rd or 4th best conference in
but like
totality.
Just in general, throughout the years, it's progressively gotten like there's not as many good teams in the SEC.
No, there hasn't been.
I mean, before you used to have Florida, Georgia. Not really Tennessee, but South Carolina was up there.
Yeah.
And you had, on the other side, you had Auburn, Alabama. A&M was in there. LSU was always in the mix. Ole Miss, Mississippi State would kind of get up there. So where are all those teams? I mean, a lot of them NCAA sanctions and recruiting issues and stuff like that, coaching changes.
And I think that's part of the reason why I'm so nonplussed about Alabama being in the playoffs is because it's clear to me the SEC, it's not a good conference, and their wins aren't very good, though a lot of people still treat it like Alabama ran through some roughshod SEC West schedule when it's become very clear that the SEC West is probably one of the weaker divisions in football, top to bottom.
Yeah, that's fair. And I mean, I don't necessarily disagree that Ohio State shouldn't be in. It's so hard to decide whether resume matters more or losses matter more.
I can't. It's the resume, man.
I personally think resume.
You can't schedule all these hard teams and then have the committee say, yeah, well, maybe you should have scheduled Mercer instead of Oklahoma. Sorry.
Yeah. Again, I mean, this does go back to the Iowa loss primarily. They would have overlooked the Oklahoma loss because Oklahoma's in the playoffs. They would have overlooked
the Iowa loss if they didn't lose to Oklahoma. And this just comes down to it. And I've always not been a fan of the playoff committee basically telling their teams, hey, scheduling hard teams is cool and all, but what's way worse is losing to those hard teams versus beating easy teams.
But when they started this whole playoff thing, they said strength of schedule, schedule hard teams, stop playing D2 teams. Bama still does that, and you're right, they get in.
It's frustrating. The playoff committee is arbitrary, and I'm done talking about it. We're done. We're finished. We've argued about this for 15 minutes, and like I said, we have a limited amount of time.
Well, why don't we get into some more fun stuff?
Coaching searches. Who do you want to talk about first? I'll leave it up to you.
There's so many. I want to talk about the big one today. Absolute, just a terrible thing to do, in my opinion. And I personally, I've never really been that big a fan of this guy. But what he did today was not nice on any sort of level.
Talk about Willie Taggart.
I'm talking about Willie Taggart.
Hopping from Oregon to FSU, baby.
After a year. 1 year.
Willie Taggart has coached his team to 4 bowl games. He's played in one of them.
I mean, what the heck? Stay at somewhere. Let yourself develop that team. Like, get to know your players. Bond with them or something. I don't know if I could trust this coach coming in Florida. I mean,
I could. It's been clear. I think this is the final stop for him.
I mean, yeah, it's clear he wants to be back in Florida. He wants to hang around the Sunshine State. He's got a lot of recruiting there. But dang, I mean, Oregon gives you a huge opportunity. I mean, they're not a program that fires many coaches recently. Apart from, Chip Kelly left. They let Helfrich take over. Did okay for a while, but not what they wanted. They had a rough year, and so Helfrich, you're done. I thought they should have given Helfrich another year. I didn't think Helfrich had much opportunity. I mean, his quarterback was injured. He had a lot of other injuries. Royce Freeman was injured last year.
It was a rough year for sure, but from all the Oregon sources I know, it was his time to go.
Okay.
But Willie Taggart, it's just
in and out.
It feels so scummy, and it's so weird because I feel like I shouldn't fault him for this because he's an employer, he's an employee. If he wants to go to another job to make more money, and I feel like that should be his imperative. But you can't stop this feeling in your gut that what a slime ball.
I don't know. I'm just not a fan.
It's more because of the players, I think. And you look at all the players he recruited last year, and he just gets to go to them and say, "Yep, sorry guys, I'm skipping town for $3 more million. Good luck sitting a year and transferring or staying at Oregon for a coach you didn't sign up for.
And good luck figuring out a new system."
Yeah, that's what really rankles me. I'm just going to use that term.
Okay.
I'm going to keep using it. It's part of my vocabulary.
Clemson titles and rankles. Good to know.
Really, I'll switch it up. I'll say grinds my gears. Grinds my gears.
Well, here, I got one that'll rankle you, Nate. Yeah, I think it's your favorite hire of the whole week. Well, what about down in the desert?
What?
Down in the desert, we got Herm Edwards taking over the Sun Devil. Oh, sorry, we can't say that word. Taking over Arizona State.
I'm gonna show you. I'm gonna play you guys a clip.
Oh my gosh! Not this again.
I'm gonna play you guys a clip. Just give me a second. I'm gonna play you guys a clip.
This is just a weird hire to begin with. Your clip plays or not, this is a weird hire.
These young people want to know why. They want answers. Why is knowledge? It's up to us to give them knowledge. It's not questioning authority. They want to know.
I think you need to turn it up, Nate.
I don't know. Oh well. If it doesn't play, it doesn't play. Sorry.
Anyways, that's just a really bizarre motivational speech coming from their new coach.
Here, I'll give you the actual quote. He says, "Why is knowledge?" That's just the line. That's the line. That's the end of this.
Why is knowledge?
That's the sentence.
Wasn't there some like Champions of Life-esque
He
quote
said
by their
his
AD?
agent.
His agent,
his
who is
agent-
now, who is also his former agent, who is also Arizona State's AD.
Oh boy.
That's the connection there. That's how they got Herm Edwards. Herm Edwards' former agent is Arizona State's athletic director. What was his quote, Nate?
We're gonna put up many points on the scoreboard of life. I'm done. It's finished. Fade me. I'm gonna fade into the floor and sink out of existence.
See, the big thing that I question with this is why Herm Edwards? If you're gonna fire Todd Graham, who's a solid coach, yeah, consistent. Like they've been consistently in the middle of the Pac-12 South. They were second this year. They had a decent season. I mean, they've been kind of in the middle of the pack for the entire nation for a while. But if you're firing Todd Graham, and this is the guy you bring in Herm Edwards and say that he's going to get you to the top of the Pac-12. He's going to get you to compete. I don't know.
It's astounding.
This
is another Herm Edwards coach quote.
Oh gosh.
I can't play. I can't hit anybody. I got one big hit left in me, but I coach. I coach football. That's what I do.
Oh my! He hasn't coached in 10 years.
Oh Lord, what is happening? I don't get it.
What?
Herm Edwards. I don't get it. This is worse than Mike Riley. I mean, I don't have to Google Herm Edwards, but you hear the name and deep down from the bottom of your heart, it sinks and you go, oh, here's another quote. Coach Herm Edwards, we don't huddle anymore in society. That's the problem with it, to be honest.
Oh my goodness. I don't know. I'm pretty disappointed in Arizona State for this one. I personally like Todd Graham. I thought he was a pretty good coach.
Okay, Alex. One last quote.
Oh boy.
One last quote.
Oh my gosh.
This
we
is
need to
from
find a new segment here.
You're a business guy. So
all right,
I want you to make sense of this. This is
okay.
From their athletic department, who released this quote on what their system's going to look like under Herm.
Okay.
The new leadership model affords coordinators and assistant coaches more flexibility in how they develop student athletes on the field and enables Sun Devil football to build on the Championship Life program already in place through the Office of Student Athlete Development to better equip student athletes with the tools and skills to succeed in their future endeavors. This structure will allow the department to form a multi-layered method to the talent evaluation and recruiting process, increase emphasis on both student athlete and coach development and retention, and provide a boost in resource allocation and generation.
There are more buzzwords in that quote than I put in my Ghana paper for my management class that I just got out of. What the heck?
I was so surprised I didn't read the word synergy in there. Like that's the most obvious thing I could have read, but they didn't put the synergy.
Wow, I don't know. Arizona State, this one could be rough.
They paid Todd Graham $12 million to not coach there.
And you pick up Herm Edwards.
I'm gonna meme it. I'm gonna be memeing in the desert for the next few years.
Oh my gosh, yeah. This one's rough. I don't know about. I'm not a fan for the Sun Devils on it. Sorry, Arizona State. Don't want to say Devil.
Yes.
But no, I'm not a fan. I'm not a fan.
No, that's an understatement. Let's talk about Jimbo Fisher for just a minute. He
got up and left.
Left Florida State. Basically was like, I can't win there. There's no resources. And it's like, what are you talking about, Jimbo?
This is one of the most storied programs in all of college football. How do you not have resources and fan base?
Well, what I read was that he butted heads with the AD. Every single year.
He butted heads with a lot of people. We were reading that article on Friday. There were multiple players, including DeAndre Francois, their star quarterback, who came out and said, if Jimbo stays, I'm out, and I'm leaving.
That's fair. It became very clear that Jimbo had yelled to the president. He had yelled to the AD. He says, I want this, whether it's facility upgrades, whether it's recruiting upgrades, et cetera, et cetera. And every year, the administration said, okay, Jimbo, here you go. And now after a 6-6 season, he says, I want this, I want this. And the Florida State administration's like, all right, let's hold off. And he's like, no, I'm leaving. And it's become very clear.
I think I've seen, there's a few of these guys in college football. I think Bo was one of them for here in Nebraska. But Jimbo just seems like one of those kind of coaches that just wears and tears on a program. and eventually you just can't handle having him around anymore.
Good luck to A&M. 10-year contract.
10 years, $75 million. Unheard of.
Ugh, oh my gosh.
Unheard of.
Is he the most expensive coach now?
I think he might be contract wise. I think Saban still makes more per year, but this has got to rival it. If not, I mean,
it's so bizarre, and it's become clear that Jimbo was incredibly toxic to the Florida State program.
Quick one before we get to our favorite hire of the week. Joe Moorhead, Penn State offensive coordinator, going down to Mississippi State. I like that move.
It's a good move. One of the most.
That was a very good hire. I mean, Mississippi State probably not expecting to really lose their coach, and then Dan Mullen, he's going back to Florida, and I don't blame him at all. I thought that was a good move for Dan Mullen. I know the players might feel a little animosity. They're going to have to face him down the road, but Dan Mullen was at Florida before. He had success there. Now he gets a chance to lead them, bring it back. I think it's a good move for him, but I thought Joe Moorhead was a very good pickup for the Bulldogs.
He was. And same with UCF's new coach.
UCF. Yep, they got Missouri's offensive coordinator, Josh Heupel.
Just two offensive coordinators that had success at their programs, moving and getting their first Power 5.
Yep.
Not Power 5, but head coaching job at a team. Just so it's good for them and good to move up. But we only have like 14 minutes left, so let's spend this last 14 minutes talking about the hire that's really important.
Let's rant.
Scott Frost.
Scott Frost.
How you feeling?
Oh, I'm so excited. So excited. I was watching the game. One thing I will say, I was pretty upset with ESPN. They announced that he had made a deal with Nebraska in the fourth quarter of the game, and you could tell that Scott Frost was going to announce afterwards. He was going to say, like, hey, I'm going to celebrate with my team, and then have a press conference later that day and say, I'm going to go to Nebraska. And you could tell that's what he wanted to do. And right after he won the championship, the guy interviewing him for ESPN said, hey, there's a ton of confirmation things swirling around on Twitter and updates everywhere. Are you going to Nebraska? And Scott's just like, you could tell on his face. I mean, one, he was really happy, but he's also just really hurt by that question. He wanted to go celebrate with his team. So I'm a little upset with ESPN for breaking that early. I thought they should have waited and let him do it. But I am beyond the moon. I am so hyped for Scott Frost. I was running around my house just screaming his name once he got hired. Like, oh my gosh, Scott Frost coming home.
I'm happy. He was the person that I wanted all year this year. And I know both you and I, we kind of had to keep a tight lip.
Yeah.
Tight lips on, the coaching situation, since, both of us work, with the athletic department in some capacity.
Again, neither one of us wished anything with Mike Riley. We only wished him the best. And I helped recruit for him. I got to meet him on a couple of occasions. I got to meet with all his recruits. Phenomenal guy.
Rigby.
Oh my gosh. But I think what Riley did best for Husker football was smooth it over. Bo left this a really rocky, jumbled mess, a lot of animosity towards this administration. Riley came in, classy guy, smoothed it over.
Couldn't get it done.
Couldn't quite get it done coaching-wise, but cleaned it up.
Nebraska seems like it's finally got the guy. And I know Pelini was this in 2008 too.
Yep.
But he seems like the guy who came in and we said, oh, we want this guy. This is our guy. He's one of the hottest coaching prospects in the nation. I want him. And he said, yeah. I want you too. And that's so nice.
That's such a perfect match. And he's named some of his assistants.
Basically almost his entire staff.
Yep.
I think only the offensive coordinator and the
wide receiver coach. They have yet to be named, but he's got just about everybody. And I like it. I mean, I've heard I've seen some of the message boards, and I've heard a few people talking that they're like, oh, he's just bringing everybody from UCF. That's not going to be good. They're all group of 5 coaches. They can't do this. Lay off.
Coaching
He hasn't even been here yet.
Exactly.
Let him bring his people in and let's see what happens.
I liked Scott Frost after his presser. He took some of the media around and he's like, listen, this isn't going to be an antagonistic relationship, but let's be constructive.
Yeah.
And then he also said, don't talk to my family or I'll cut you off. So, which is also fair.
Oh yeah, for sure. But no, I like the guys he's bringing in some former Huskers, so they know They know what's to be expected here, and I think they've clearly had a lot of great success down at UCF. So I'm not upset with this at all.
No, and like you said, a lot of the message board people, especially like Eric Sheander, I think is that how you say his name?
I think so.
Shamander?
I don't know.
I know it's spelled like Charmander, the Pokemon, because somebody made a meme. Somebody made a meme of his face, stapled on a Charmander's head. So I think it sounds like Charmander. I think it's Shamander.
Yeah.
Or Shemander. But a lot of people are being like, "Why are we hiring him? He gave up 55 points." It's like, stop.
He coached a good defense. He's been going against the two of the top offenses in the past week, and
stop.
He coached a player with one hand to be the conference defensive player of the year.
We'll
possibly
be fine.
2 years running now.
We'll be fine. Let's not run one of Scott Frost's assistants off in 2 months.
No,
in a week.
In a week, yeah. I mean, dude landed in Nebraska 2 days ago. We were both watching that press conference on Sunday. Scott Frost just needed a nap. That poor guy.
He was so tired.
But no, I'm excited for his staff.
He said all the right things.
Yeah, I'm excited for. Best quote. They asked one of the questions they asked him was like, Scott, like, are you gonna have to adjust your system for the Big Ten? He looked him dead in the eyes, like, I hope the Big Ten has to adjust for us.
Applause. There's a round of applause,
oh, yeah.
and that's kind of a hopeful quote. Obviously he's going to adjust his system
it
somewhat.
Is,
but he knew how to say the right things to placate the media, to placate the old guard. Strength and conditioning is important, which I actually think that's really important considering I think knowing some of these players, I think they got strength and conditioning got away from them this last year or two.
Yes.
He said we're gonna offer all the in-state kids.
Yes,
which
we're gonna get the walk-on program going.
Yeah, we're gonna get the walk-on program going.
That means more recruiting visits for me, so I'm excited.
It'll be fun. He said the right things, but I think he's gonna do the right things, and he's already hit the recruiting trail really hard.
Yeah, he's offered a 4-star quarterback. I've heard he's down in Florida again, or he's got some people down in Florida visiting, like Bookie and some of our other high-star guys, but down in Florida. So.
Yes, Coach Held, the new defensive coordinator, is back. Visited Image Academy to go talk to those guys. He retalked to Bookie. I don't think he's going to re-sign back here, but it's nice. It's
at least making the effort.
You got to make the effort for people like that.
Yeah, they're trying hard.
Some stuff has been reformed. Josh Moore has said he's straight in, which is really weird because he wasn't the guy I thought that was going to be straight.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought Mario Goodrich was going to be the guy that was going to stick with the school. I heard the rumors, but it seems like Josh Moore is the guy who's just going to stick with us through the coaching search, and I'm
that's all right.
Pretty happy about that. There's a JUCO quarterback who's probably thinking about coming here, Terry Wilson, who was originally committed to Nebraska.
I remember him, a couple years ago.
Decided to go to Oregon, couldn't really cut it there.
Yep.
Decided to go to JUCO.
Might be coming back,
so that's interesting. He's really fast.
Yeah.
And we just offered a lot of people. Offered Bryson Williams from Lincoln Southeast, who was very upset. You hear the story on the message boards about that?
I did not.
About how Mike Riley wanted to offer Williams a scholarship, but Eichhorst and Diaco overruled him.
Oh, my gosh.
Which is one of those things where it's like, I have sympathy that people got meddled, but it's like, you're the boss, dude. If you're Mike Riley, it's like, tell Sean Eichhorst, no, I'm the guy. I'm your boss, Bob Diaco. I'm giving this kid a scholarship.
Yeah, see, again, Riley was able to class this up, smooth it over, get rid of... This year was just kind of a mess with people who should probably not have been on staff, namely Diaco and things like that.
Good old Diaco.
We got a new staff coming in. We got a lot of hope for Husker football. We're hitting the recruiting trail hard. Again, I just want to mention this. I didn't quite get through my whole rant last week.
Okay.
But I just want to finish it. It's going to take time.
It is.
Because next season, our schedule, we got a few. We got Akron, Troy, Purdue, and stuff. But we have Colorado at home. We have Michigan State at home. And our conference road games are at Michigan, at Wisconsin, at Northwestern. That's back-to-back. At Ohio State, and at Iowa. We are not going to win a lot of games next year. I don't care who is coaching.
No.
I'm excited. I hope we can win a lot of games. I think we have potential to win a lot of games. But realistically, those are very, very difficult schedule to manage.
Yes, we're going to be rough. We're going to be switching systems.
It's going to take a few years.
With players, and especially in the quarterback position, that aren't really accustomed to playing a system like that.
Yeah, and I'm probably going to mention this on our show for the next until the end of the school year, but it's not going to be a 2-year turnaround like UCF.
It's going to be a 3. It's going to be a 4-year turnaround.
Maybe it's going to take a while. We're going to be competitive.
Yes.
We're going to get good. We're going to start competing with Wisconsin. Start maybe get to a Big Ten championship in a few years. But overall, if we're going to compete on the national level in the college football playoff, it's going to be a while.
It's going to be a while.
It takes time to build that. Have some faith in Scott Frost. Have some faith in his new staff. Let him just bring in people and see what goes on.
It'll be good for Husker Nation to just take a step back and be patient, but also be happy, because this is one of the most optimistic weekends of Husker football that I can remember in a long time.
For sure.
Maybe since the Michigan State win a couple years ago, was the last time I truly was like, wow, we're heading in the right direction.
Mm-hmm. You know what? We got a few minutes left. There's one other open coaching job. You might have heard it's open. I don't know. Tennessee. Have you heard that job's open?
It's open.
It's still open.
Still open.
My goodness. They got Philip Fulmer as AD now. They fired their other AD.
Good. That's the guy who's bringing them down. A lot of people are like, "Oh, the fans. They make Tennessee impossible to win with." Like, look at the AD. Look at Jimmy Haslam, toxic booster 101. It's the administration that's killing that program, and it's not even close. People are like, "Oh, the fans. They ruin the reputation of a good man." Whatever.
Now, what I want to mention here is Tennessee, very, very similar to Nebraska. A lot of history in the 90s. So semi-recent history.
Yes.
Fired winning coaches.
Yes.
Has gone through a shuffle of coaches and mediocrity over the past couple decades.
We're in a way better spot than they are.
We are in a way better spot now because we picked up Scott Frost and because we got our homeboy coming home. But dedicated fan base.
Yeah.
Lots of boosters, lots of money. Centered around.
They have more money than we do.
Centered around football, though.
Yes.
They're a bigger school. They're going to have more money. We're still the only athletic program in the nation to have a self-sustaining athletic program and be the only one out of debt. So I don't want to hear it.
Okay.
I'll start throwing my recruiting facts at you.
No, that's fine. I don't want to hear the Alex Fernando story.
Hey, my tours are on point.
No, I know.
But
regardless.
I don't know. I think switching the AD, you're right. Knocking out some of those administration, knocking them down a little bit, being like, hey, we got to settle this down. Might calm the storm a little bit over there, but they're still in a world of hurt after missing out on Schiano and trying to find somebody who wants to come work there.
It'll be tough because so many coaches have turned him down. Gundy turned him down.
Gundy, yeah, your boy Gundy.
I'm glad he turned him down. He don't need to coach at Tennessee.
I mean,
he just wanted more money from T. Boone Pickens.
I mean, that's fair. He was out talking to Florida last time. He's talking to Tennessee now. Like, what do you think?
He was being rough. He's fine. He ain't gonna leave Oklahoma State for the foreseeable future, in my opinion. He's beloved down there. I don't think he's gonna leave.
All right. Well, just to finish up, what's your two of the best bowl matchups that you got? Did you see any of them?
I did. I like Auburn versus UCF. I think that's probably my favorite. And then
that'd be an interesting game.
And then, oh my gosh, I'm trying to think. I can't remember. Oh, who was it that Washington plays?
Washington plays Penn State.
I'm
excited for that one. That's a really good matchup. I'm excited for Washington, Penn State, Wisconsin, Miami. Tough run defense, tough run offense. I don't know. And then I actually might even get to see this one live. I'm going down to Jacksonville with family over Christmas break. But Louisville and Mississippi State. I might get to see a Heisman quarterback and a solid dual threat quarterback with Nick Fitzgerald and Lamar Jackson.
He broke his leg, dude.
Wait, what?
Nick Fitzgerald? Remember when he broke his leg like 2 weeks ago?
Oh, that's right, against Ole Miss. Crap.
Oh, well, you're still going to see a Heisman winner. That'll be fun.
Yeah, so we'll see. A lot of good bowl games coming up.
A lot to go, but we'll talk more about that next week because, unfortunately, we are all out of time. It was a great week. I'm glad to be
quick.
here.
Oh, man. Lots of coaching. Scott Frost.
Lots of coaching.
Scott Frost.
Regardless, that is it for us. For Nate Muehlbach and my co-host, Alex Fernando, on the second string on KRNU2. Thanks for listening, guys. Have a good one.
Go Big Red. Scott Frost.